Hey everyone, my name is Ryan Soos. I am a senior manager on the customer success team here at Smartling. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about understanding how to calculate localization ROI. I hope you're enjoying Global Ready so far, and hopefully you get a little something out of this session. So let's start with, why do we invest in localization? I know I'm pre-recorded right now, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a pause here and let's populate into the chat why your organization invests in localization. All right. Hopefully we're getting some good ideas in there. Hopefully, there's some nice collaboration, and hopefully some of the things that were said are in line with what you're seeing on your screen now. So I've worked at Smartling for 6 years, and I've worked with dozens, if not hundreds, of customers. And some of the more common themes that we've seen are across these 6 areas. So first of all, market expansion. Entering into new markets where maybe the language that you create your source copy in isn't spoken, isn't communicated in. So maybe you write all your source content in English and you want to enter into a French market. This one's pretty clear, right? We want to speak the same language as our customers. Supporting active customers. A lot of customers that we work with come to us and say, hey, I have this new big client and they speak X language. How can we support this client that we have who is paying us all this money for our software? We want to make sure the tool is easy to use for them. Legal requirements. We see this very often with government agencies that we work with. They have a population that is highly Japanese. So there is a mandate across their government agency that all public communication must be written in Japanese as well. Competitive advantage. This is a fun one, right? Making sure that we get in there first before our competitors do. It's very common to market expansion, making sure we're the first to move into a new market and making sure that we have a leg up on our competitors by speaking the same language again as our customers. Improving SEO. People are searching on Google, Bing, whatever your search engine of choice is nowadays, and they are typing in keywords in their own language. So by localizing your SEO metadata, you're able to get new customers, rank higher in search engines, and reap all the benefits that come with that. Speaking of reaping benefits, why do we invest in localization? Probably the biggest reason that you'll hear from C-suite is to increase revenue. All the CROs on Global Ready right now are probably nodding their heads. This is what we want to do. This is why we enter new markets. This is why we get those competitive advantages and want to improve our SEO to increase the bottom line. So speaking of revenue, let's get into the meat of the conversation today and start with, what exactly is localization ROI? So in order to understand localization ROI, it's important that we understand what it is. And it really starts with a simple equation. Return on investment equals profit over cost. This is something that you learn in Econ 101. This is a generally accepted equation across all businesses, across stock markets, and it applies to localization as well. So how does localization fit into profit and cost? So cost is pretty straightforward. When we are talking here about cost, what we're going to focus on is the cost of your TMS. So your annual subscription fee, the cost of integrations, and then the cost of actual translations as well. So the translators going in, translating that content, or editors going in, editing that content, or maybe you use some other model like machine translation. What is the cost there? So those are the costs, and the costs are pretty simple to calculate. Of course, there are additional costs. There are overhead costs. There's a lot more that goes into running a localization department. But to simplify this conversation for my own sake, we're going to say the costs here are just the cost of the TMS as well as the cost of translation. Now, there's also profit. And when we think about profit, the first place that all of our minds go is making more money. And you're right, profit is making more money. But with localization, profit can come in some areas that we wouldn't immediately think of. So let's talk about some ways that we measure profit that are outside of, hey, we increase sales and we're making more money. So where do we see profit with a TMS? Let's start with the first area. Where do we see profit? We see profit with translation. Believe it or not, even while spending money with translation, investing in a TMS allows you to see cost benefits. So when I speak to customers and when we talk to Smartling prospects, Smartling customers, there's always this triangle that we go back to. We talk about speed, quality, and cost when it comes to translation. In an ideal world, everybody gets the highest quality translations right away for as close to free as possible, right? That would be a perfect world. But every customer that we work with and every localization department has their own needs. And this triangle looks a little bit different for every customer. So there are some customers where there's this balanced triangle that we see here. Hey, let's go for good quality, turned around quick enough, and we understand that we'll need to make an investment here. Some organizations we work with, they might use something like a machine translation engine where they say, hey, the quality is, good enough, but what's really beneficial to our organization is that costs are low and we get the content translated and returned right away. So it's all about finding that right balance for your team. There are fits for every shape of this triangle. And one of the biggest benefits when we're going through translation, one of the ways that we decrease that peak of cost is through translation memory leverage. So for some folks who are attending this session, this might be something you talk about every day and you're really immersed in and you know it like the back of your hand. For others who are maybe newer to localization or not as familiar, allow me to introduce you to translation memory leverage. So translation memory is a cloud-based database of all translations that have occurred. In Smartling, as soon as you save a translation, it is saved to your translation memory. And then what we do with the content that is saved there is we leverage or read from these translation memories whenever new source content is uploaded to introduce costs and time savings and maintain translation consistency. So as you can see in that last sentence there, introducing cost savings, time savings, and translation consistency, by using translation memory leverage, we're actually able to hit on all three corners of that triangle. We're able to save you money, we're able to save you time, and we're able to improve quality by ensuring consistency across your content landscape. So how is translation memory applied to your content? The first area that we apply translation memory to is called fuzzy matching. So fuzzy matches occur when our system detects that there's content that is similar, but not exactly the same as previously saved content. So the system will automatically calculate what we call a fuzzy score on a scale of 0 to 100, and that's based on similarity. So if I upload content this week and I translate it and the translation says this water bottle is white, that will be registered in my translation memory. And I'll have the approved translation from my professional translator that went through my 3-step translation edit review process. And then 2 weeks later, I upload another string. And this time the string reads, this water bottle is blue. The system will automatically detect and don't quote me on the calculation here, but it'll say something like, hey, we've seen something similar before. This is 87% similar to the string that read, this water bottle is white. And we'll present that previously approved translation to the translator, and they'll know, hey, I know the right term for water bottle. I know how the organization prefers this sentence to be structured. All I have to do here is swap out the word white for blue. And that allows the translator to get the content through the workflow really quickly. And then you will also see cost benefits. So you might see a 40% discount or 60% discount, all the way up to the 100% matches, really having significant savings on each of those strings. Really simple rule. The higher the similarity, the bigger the cost savings. Speaking of high similarity, the second area where we apply translation memory leverage is called smart matching. So smart matches occur when the TMS detects that there is content authorized and there's an exact match in the translation memory. Now, what does exact match mean? There are settings that are available that we can customize this to your organization. We take into account things like metadata, white space, capitalization, variance. The reason we allow for this level of customization is if you think about a standard website, you might have a string that is just the word contact. And where the string might live, there might be a contact button that you want to read the verb as the verb contact. And then there might be another area where you're listing out different departments and there's a table where you have the word contact and you're talking about the noun here, who to contact. Now, I am monolingual, so I will not embarrass myself by taking stabs at another language, but I'm willing to guess that in other languages outside of English, those two words would be different, contact the verb and contact the noun. So by allowing for different variants, we can avoid the smart matching and avoid poor translations populating in different areas. But let's say we have that string again, this water bottle is white. And then 2 weeks later, we upload content. And this time it once again says this water bottle is white. You, as a Smartling customer, you've already paid for this translation. You've already waited for it to go through the workflow. We are not going to ask you to pay for it or wait for it again. When smart matching is enabled, what that will do is skip the workflow. So there is no cost and no wait time associated with the smart match content. And once again, you get that consistency in your content. So if you have this water bottle is white translated on one web page, it's going to be the same on that fifth and sixth web page to ensure it doesn't sound like, you know, multiple people are writing content across your content landscape. Okay, so how do we calculate our savings with translation memory leverage? Let's take a look at a scenario. Acme Corp comes in. Wile E. Coyote is translating all his dynamite and all his traps, and he's pushed through a lot of content. Here is their translation mix. All of this reporting is available very clearly. They have 20,000 words that would be considered net new, so we've never seen them before. These different ranges of fuzzy matches, there are 6,000 words that get a 40% discount, 4,000 words that get a 70%, 10,000 that get a 90% discount, then 35,000 words that actually smart match. I think that adds up to 75,000 words total. And I want you to see on the left-hand side, originally when Acme Corp was entering into this engagement, they were quoted 20 cents per word for translation. So these 75,000 words are actually not costing 20 cents per word. So when they're looking at their bottom line, they're looking at, hey, what did we really pay? Originally, when I was talking to Ryan, he told me it's going to be 20 cents per word and we'd see something called a fuzzy discount. How did that impact our spend? So looking at this breakdown, we could see that in the net new words, they were billed 20 cents per word for those 20,000 words. So they saw a cost of $4,000 there. But then as you see down this table, the higher the fuzzy match and then the smart match, the steeper the discount actually is for that content. So taking a look at the line that is a 100% fuzzy match, that adds up to 10,000 words, costing only $200 for translation. If there was no discount applied, that would be $2,000 for just those 10,000 words. So Acme Corp in this scenario wound up spending $5,160 to translate those 75,000 words. So looking on the left side, there are two ways that I really present this when I'm speaking with customers about their cost savings and their ROI when it comes to translation memory leverage. The first of which is an effective rate. So, hey, Ryan, you told me 20 cents per word, and I'm going to see some savings based on translation memory leverage. What did I actually pay you per word? Let's do the math there. So it was, excuse me, there were 75,000 words, and it was $5,160. We can divide that really easily and come up with an effective rate of 6.88 cents per word. It sounds a lot better than 20 cents per word, right? So that adds up to a savings of 13.12 cents per word, simply off of translation memory leverage. So, all right, I know my effective rate. What does that add up to for me? So again, taking that same scenario, the 75,000 words, that would have been $15,000 without any TM leverage if everything was net new. With TM leverage, the cost amounted to only $5,160. So a little subtraction, right? A little easy math here. We saved nearly $10,000 simply by applying the translations that we've already paid for. So that is the way we speak about ROI when it comes to translations and translation spend. There's a very, very important other area that we talk about ROI with our customers, and that is automation. So let's take a step back and let's talk about the content creation process. This process here, this workflow, this has nothing to do with localization as is. And I'm sure there are marketers on the call that are rolling their eyes and saying, Ryan, you are clearly not in marketing. There are 1,000 more steps that go into the process, but please bear with me here as I once again simplify things to make it easy for myself. So we come up with an idea. We have the idea creation, and then we go into our actual creation of the assets. Our incredible copywriters, UX designers, anybody else touching the content, our editors give it a final pass, and then the content goes live. So where does localization fit into this existing process? If something's a well-oiled machine, how can we fit localization into that process without causing a disruption? So how did we localize before a TMS? We would have our marketing tools, we would have our Figmas, our InDesigns, our Photoshops, our Contentfuls, our Zendesks, our repositories, our internal Google Slides and Google Sheets, whatever it may be. We would export all of that to spreadsheets, right? And we would send that out to an LSP, and we would say, hey, do your magic and send it back to us. These became really difficult to manage. Anybody who was there for this process knows there were versioning issues. There was simply exporting the content from some of these tools and formatting it into these Excel spreadsheets. There was a lack of live information that was pouring into these spreadsheets. Hey, what was the latest translation for this string? What's the newest version of the string in the translation memory? Is there a quality check? Is there a flag that should be raised about the way I'm translating this content? And then sending it back and uploading it to the CMS or the marketing tool and figuring out how to make things fit right and how dynamic content would actually be applied. It was not fun. Let's put it that way. But with the TMS, we're now able to integrate, take all of that content as it is, and then export it back as it came in, except in a different locale. So you see some of the areas on this slide that we actually translate and integrate with. So we're talking about subtitles. Imagine translating subtitles without a tool, without that visual context of being able to see the video and translate the subtitle alongside that video. We see product marketing in here. We integrate with a plethora of marketing tools to allow marketers to make their lives easy. And when they complete their task, they can click a export to Smartling button and they don't have to download anything. They don't have to upload anything. All they have to do is click a button and send it off for translation. And with automation rules, they can be completely hands off. They actually never have to log into their TMS, believe it or not. And the translators can go in and they can do their magic. They can do their great work. And once they're done, the content will be sent back to those product marketers' tools. Right? So if you can't tell, I like explaining ROI via scenarios. So let's talk about integration scenarios. So Acme Corp, they came to us 6 months ago and they said, hey, we have Contentful. And, we've been trying to create our own language copies. We've been trying to translate all these pages and it's a lot of work for us. Can you make our lives easier? We got to catch that roadrunner. We can't spend time dealing with localization. So prior to purchasing the TMS, their dev was manually exporting content from Contentful. They were converting it into an Excel file. They were sending it off. And to simplify this, it took them 2 minutes. I'm sure it probably took them more than 2 minutes, but they told us it took them 2 minutes to export and reformat the content. And then once the LSP sent their content back, it took the developer 3 minutes to fix that. It pulled them away from building new tools, from building new product, what they really love doing. And they had to reformat that content, re-import it. So it took the developer 5 minutes of their time to work on every single file that was localized. Now we're going to get into the scenario, but we talk about 5 minutes per file. I work with customers who import and export hundreds, if not thousands of files every month, every quarter. So you can imagine those 5 minutes, while it might seem quick for a one-time thing, over time, it really adds up. And let's see how it added up for Acme Corp. So when we're talking about investing in localization here and where we see the ROI, the reason why we're talking about this scenario is the TMS allows us to avoid that 5 minutes that we were just mentioning. The TMS capabilities allow us to pull in the content automatically, integrate seamlessly, and then it also allows for improving the allocation of resources. So this is really, really important and something that's often overlooked when talking about the cost and profit of localization. So that dev who is spending 5 minutes per file downloading and uploading, they're now building new tools. They're now allowing Acme Corp to expand their customer base, attract new users, and really just frees up their time to work on the things they love. So it creates a happier work environment for our developer here. And how does that add up? So the scenario here, Acme Corp sent us 500 files in 6 months, okay? And 500 times 5, 2,500 minutes. So when you look at this, their TMS is directly integrated with Contentful. Files are instantly uploaded. All that dev or product manager time is completely removed. The content owners actually have the ability to submit content for translation. So the developer has no involvement in localization anymore. How did they set up this integration? The developer took a 15-minute call. They logged in, they made sure things were mapped correctly as far as languages. So a little 15 minutes saved them 2,500 minutes. And that 2,500 minutes, what does that add up to when you divide it by 60? That's over 40 hours of developer time. That's a full week of work. And then if we assume this developer's hourly salary is, let's say, $50, that saves over $2,000 in developer cost when you think about that. So let that sink in for a moment. A simple integration here can free up thousands of dollars by integrating, by putting that work in at the beginning, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it may be to integrate your CMS with your TMS. And in the long run, it will pay for itself. So going all the way back to the beginning, why do we invest in localization? We invest because of market expansion, supporting active customers, legal requirements, competitive advantage, improving SEO, and increasing revenue. And we just talked about two items here around saving money during our translation process via translation memory leverage, and then also improving ROI by freeing up developer time and saving on developer costs. So with all that said, where does Smartling come in to help with that? First of all, management. So when it comes to translation management, this is something that a lot of people who are attending Global Ready today spend every single moment of their working lives doing, right? Managing the content that's coming in and out, making decisions. Do we want to human translate this content? Do we want to machine translate this content? Which machine translation engine is best for this sort of content? All of these decisions can happen inside of Smartling, and you can use tools like our language AI and NMT hub using Smartling Auto Select to free your time up from making those decisions. Visual context. So we were just talking about those translation efforts with things like translating subtitles. That video is so powerful when we're getting those translations right the first time. Or I made a reference to a string that just said contact earlier in this presentation. And imagine just seeing the string contact in an Excel spreadsheet. You don't know if that's a button or if it's a table with information about who to contact. And then global brand management. So via Smartling, you're able to integrate with all content types, whether that is your fun marketing content, whether that is your cut and dry legal content, or even if it's internal documentation that you're going to distribute and you just need a quick translation for it. We have those automated quality checks. Again, I keep going back to getting translations right the first time. Our quality checks will allow for things like spell checks to take place. Everybody makes a typo, right? We even have quality checks for consistency. We have quality checks for making sure that we're using the right emojis. So it's a really powerful tool to be sure that we get translations right the first time. And part of that is your internal review process. So I did make reference to automation allowing users to never even log into Smartling. But what we also allow for is everyone to log into Smartling. So whether that's your user who is logging in to request a translation, whether that's your user who's logging in to review content that has been translated, or if that's your user who is logging in to check out some analytics that I'll talk about in just a moment. Everybody can go into Smartling to get done what they need to get done. As promised, analytics. So Smartling has a full analytics engine that we leverage. What we see on the right here is an estimate report on a job. So a great benefit of using a TMS, we're talking a lot about ROI and costs and things like that. We're fully transparent. We have rates in the platform. So before you authorize content, when you upload content and put it into a job, we'll tell you. You see on the right, hey, this is going to cost $73,000. We have hundreds of thousands of words here, but you are seeing some translation memory leverage benefits here. You're seeing cost savings on hundreds of thousands of words, or excuse me, tens of thousands of words in this scenario here. But analytics isn't just cost. Analytics available in the Smartling dashboard allow us to dive a little bit deeper into what's underneath the hood of our translations. So things like machine learning quality assessments, cost savings analytics that we've talked about a lot, translation performance. We also have custom reporting. So I'm talking a lot about Smartling, the tool, but allow me to brag a little bit about my team, the customer success team that works with our customers and speaks to them about how they're performing. And we do things like quarterly business reviews, and we review data about what's impacting the translation process. How can they get a better return on investment using Smartling? Where can we move the needle, turn a dial to improve the ROI with our customers? So our customer success team does a really amazing job having those conversations with our customers every single day. And then also on-time delivery tracking, right? I talked about how we're a transparent translation platform. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but we also report on on-time delivery. So if you need something back at a certain date, we have due dates in the platform and we track against those and we report on those. Okay, so to summarize, so where does Smartling come in? So the automation that we have with our various connectors. I haven't even mentioned our global delivery network at this point in this presentation. Believe it or not, our proxy solution, our integration with CMS, with marketing tools again, all of that is there with Smartling. Our management in the platform, so your content management, your people management, your translation management, all happening in one place. The actual translation, right? We are a translation management system. So of course we have translations taking place and then those analytics that we just spoke about. So all of these tools coming together allow for an investment in localization to happen and then reaping benefits because of that investment via our various tools like translation memory leverage and our automation capabilities. So I'm going to wrap it up here. I hope everybody got some benefits out of this presentation. Once again, ROI is profit over cost, right? And profits might not always be where you think they are. So keep in mind about time saved, keep in mind the translation memory leverage. And then of course, as we're entering into those new markets, as we're getting our competitive advantage, hopefully we're seeing those sales increase and we can really put that ROI into full speed ahead. So thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the presentation and you're enjoying Global Ready. Have a great day.